Accelerate.
Yep.
Put the place up, yeah, we know what we made of. Can't get enough for you, more I'm a chaser. Face up, now
Welcome back, everybody. As you probably guessed from the title of the video, this is the rifle that we're going over today. So this is the Smith & Wesson Performance Center AR-15. Sometimes it's called the Performance Center Competition. I've seen it labeled both in different places, and unlike most of the stuff you see on the channel these days, this rifle was actually not sent out for review. I used this during a Crimson Trace marketing event down in Florida, and then it ended up going home with me. But I like it. I like the rifle a lot, and we're going to go over why. So I wanted to review it for folks that are looking into something like this. So first off, it is changed a little bit from the factory configuration. I changed the muzzle device so that way I could run a suppressor when it was in my use, and it comes with a 2-port muzzle brake that I hate. I hate muzzle brakes just in general, especially on a rifle length 18-inch barrel. You have virtually no recoil at all. You just don't need it. But again, it's designed for 3-gun, right? That's the market. Now, I realize the vast majority of people who watch this channel and vast majority of people who look into AR-15s for any reason shoot 3-gun competition. So why would you want something like this if you're not a 3-gunner? Well, it's very easily adapted to be a prairie gun, to be a DMR type of setup, designated marksman rifle. With that 18-inch barrel, you get a little bit more velocity. And as you'll see here in just a second, it's a relatively accurate gun as well. So I guess on that note, let's head out to the range, check out the accuracy, and then come back and sort of walk through the rifle piece by piece. Before we test the accuracy of the rifle, I want to thank the sponsor of today's video, and that is SDI, or the Sonoran Desert Institute. Now, for folks that don't know, SDI is an online accredited school that offers a number of different courses and a couple different degree programs for folks who are interested in getting into the firearms industry. They offer a wide number of courses. They do things like how to dip a firearm, how to do general gunsmithing, how to crown a barrel, how to do all types of sorts of things like that. If you guys are interested in that and you really don't know how to get into the firearms industry, it's definitely one way that I would recommend looking at. I have several friends who have personally gone through there, and I have a couple friends who also were instructors there, and really they all have positive things to say, so that makes it an easy endorsement for me to give. So that is it. Again, thanks to SDI for sponsoring the video. Now let's see what kind of accuracy we can get out of this rifle. We're going to see what kind of groups we can get out of this rifle. On it right now we have the AccuFire 1:8 scope. Plenty of magnification with the target downrange at 100 yards. The only thing I don't like about the scope, for this application anyway, is it doesn't have like a really fine place to hold in the reticle, but that's all right. We'll get through it. And we're using a CTK Precision Rest, and got a Gemtech Halo can out there at the end. Crimson Trace Leighton Laser on the rail. And I think that's it. Everything else is factory, so we'll get to it. The first round up is some M&P15 from the folks over at Global Ordnance, who have stepped up to become an ammo sponsor, which I definitely appreciate. So just ball M&P15 Igman stuff, so we'll see how it does. Pretty good group for 855. Take that. As you can see, green tip stuff, so nothing fancy. We're in the shade today because it's well over 100 degrees out here, and I don't feel like frying any more than I already am, in case anybody was wondering. So next up, we're going to shoot some, this is the Winchester 223 Remington 69 grain Match King hollow point boat tail, and see how this barrel likes that stuff. All right, next load up is going to be some PPU. Once again, 223 69 grain boat tail hollow point on there. It says it's their match line, whatever that means. certainly not a bad group per se. And last up here, we have some light for caliber stuff. It's a 55 grain, all copper bullet, trophy copper, 223 Remington, obviously, from the folks at Federal. This stuff is nasty stuff for like hunting or, well, a lot of different uses where you have to put holes in flesh. But we'll see how it likes the lighter weight stuff. Let's go check them out. As y'all already know, we had a flyer there with that 855. I didn't see that actually back on the gun. I thought they were all right in there tight, but they weren't. So we had that. We're coming in right at 2.5 inches. Without it though, of course. We're center to center 1/2 inch, but gotta count them all. It's what we do. Next up here, we had that 69 grain, I believe, the Winchester. Center to center, we're right at 1 1/8 inch on that one. Then we had the PPU. Center to center, we're right at 1 3/8 inches on that one. Then the 55 grainer from Federal. Center to center, we're right at 1 1/8 inches on that one. So we're right on the edge, razor's edge with these loads anyway of MOA. I'm sure another load out there, factory load, would produce MOA groups, and also you could work something up that would get it even tighter. But considering it shot all of those pretty well, I'll take it. Now that we've got the accuracy portion knocked out, like I said earlier, it comes with that 2-port muzzle brake on there. And then beyond that, we have an 18 inch. You guys can see the profile here on your screen. It's definitely not a government profile. It's a little bit thicker back here behind the gas block than a government profile would be, but it is government profile in front of it. Has that 0.75 inch gas block diameter on there, and it does have a clamp-on gas block. Me personally, for like a hard-use rifle, not a huge fan of clamp-on gas blocks. I'd like to see one at least dimpled and set, but again, I've had zero issues with it to date. The barrel itself, like I said, 18 inches. It has the 1 1/8 twist on there, and it has 5R rifling. And basically, I'll roll in a diagram here that will explain that way easier than anything I can say. But essentially, the theory behind 5R rifling versus traditional button cut is that it imparts less change onto the actual bullet itself as it passes through there, and therefore just deforms it less, and in theory makes it more accurate. Like I said, out of the range, I'm sure this rifle is sub-MOA capable. Just with the loads we used, we didn't get one, but I'm perfectly confident that it is with a different load. And then moving on back there, we have this 15-inch Troy gas block, and you need that 15 inches with that rifle length to cover up the gas block. So I have zero issues with the length at all. Troy, not a fan of them as a company, not because they don't make good products though, it's just because they hire people who have zero issues murdering American citizens. But that's a video for another day. It is a quality handguard. It has the M-lock slots at the 3, 6, 9 o'clock position, as well as the offset slots. So that way you can set the rifle up basically however you want, adding any lights, lasers, etc. that you want to do on there. Has a very solid lockup system with anti-rotational tab here on the left side. It doesn't have it on the right, don't know why, but it's not there. This T-mark there on the top has the 1913 mounting points on top, and we're using this Crimson Trace. I believe it's their 301 light and laser combination system, and it works just fine on there. Continuing on back, our upper receiver is also T-marked. We have our shell deflector as well as forward assist, which I do like. I like to tap the forward assist. It makes me happy. And if you don't like it, I don't care. Continuing rearward here on the rifle itself, we will actually go ahead and make it clear. It doesn't have any type of ambidextrous controls or anything like that. The rifle is clear. Has your standard AR controls, safety selector there on our left side. Ping pong paddle release, magazine release, right side only. Again, there's nothing fancy going on there, but we'll take it down and walk through some of the internals that are a little bit different. Looking inside the upper receiver, you guys can see that we do have M4 feed ramps on there, aiding in reliability. I do dig that. We do have a standard charging handle. Now, for a gun that's kind of designed for 3-gun, I'm surprised they didn't go with an oversized one, because competitors just love having gigantic charging handles for whatever reason. I'm not a huge fan of gigantic charging handles, but an ambidextrous one I would like. I'd also like to see something with a gas busting capability on there, but it is what it is. That is how it comes. And then our bolt carrier group here is a semi-auto bolt carrier group. It's one of the things I'm going to ding it for. I just think for a myriad of reasons, you want a full auto profile carrier. Number one, just to send a message to the government, if nothing else. But regardless, it is 8620 on the carrier itself. The gas key as well as the carrier is chrome lined, which I do like. It has good staking on there. They're not using YFS screws, which a lot of companies do. Our bolt is 158 Carpenter steel. On their website, it does indicate that it's MP tested, and it is actually etched in there. I couldn't get a shot of it because it's so shallowly etched, if that's a word, but it is etched on there that it is MP tested as well. Again, I wish they had a full auto one, but it is what it is. It's not, so there is that. Our lower receiver itself, of course, has the Performance Center engraving on there. Other than that, it's basically mil spec with the exception of having that enclosed trigger guard there, and it is enlarged as well, so that way if you're using gloves or anything like that for hunting, which this rifle would be perfectly well suited for, gives you a little bit more room in cold climates to get your hand in there. And the trigger is awesome. So it's a 2-stage trigger. It's really good. If I was Smith & Wesson, I would sell this trigger independently, but we'll do it here at my thumb so you guys can see it. Has that first stage there, and then the brake is right at 3.5 pounds. So it's a little heavier than like your Geisseleys and stuff that typically break around 2 to 2.5, but it's super crisp. The wall's right there. You know it's going to break, and then it breaks. So the trigger is fantastic. Really positive audible reset on there. You guys can see that the actual lower has a low shelf on there. It is not full auto cut. Again, I'd like to see full auto cut. I think all of them should be. Our magazine well is not enlarged and not flared. Another thing I would like to see if they make another version of it. We do have good staking there on our castle nut, so that's good. And it appears that the castle nut itself is nitrided. Now, when nitrided castle nuts are out there, typically they're not staked, but it is staked, so I do dig that. Standard mil spec 7075 T6 receiver, and then our stock here is the Voltor, so I'm going to call it stock. Very well proven stock. Has our sling attachment point there on the top if you want to use that. And then our QD attachment points here on the bottom of the stock, and we have these two portions here that actually open up if you want to, and you can put batteries or any sort of other thing that you may want to in those ports, and it actually is sealed as well in those ports. So it's a good stock. I've used them for years and I've never had a single issue with them, and it's very durable, very rugged, very proven at this point. So stock is good to go. And one thing before I put it back together that I did fail to mention that is interesting about the upper receiver is that it has these roll pins in here. And so at the Performance Center, they put these roll pins in, and basically they actually test fit the upper and lower receiver to itself and set them so that it is super, super snug. And it's like a silicone type of roll pin, I guess is the way I can explain it. Smith & Wesson probably has a different name for it. I don't know. But they set them there, and that way they have a little bit of give so you can close it. But when you're closing this thing up, it is tight, and it's tight intentionally because of those little silicone roll pins that are 2 in the front and 2 in the rear. At this point, we've gone over most of the important details on the rifle with the exception of a couple. Number one is going to be reliability. And like I said, we've had 0 malfunctions of any kind through this rifle using a myriad of ammo. The majority of it has been Igman that was sent out to us by our friends over at Global Ordnance. We do appreciate that. They're the rifle ammo sponsor rather here on the channel these days. But we've ran steel case through it. We've ran PMC, lots of other brands. And again, 0 malfunctions of any kind, and that is suppressed and unsuppressed. So can't complain about the reliability. It's got about 1,500 rounds through it, which in 2021 review time, that's kind of a lot. But again, some of that was on Crimson Trace's dime when I was down in Florida shooting their stuff. So that's why we had the round count up a little bit higher. But yeah, again, 0 malfunctions of any kind. So that's as good as it gets. And Smith & Wesson AR-15s have a reputation for being super reliable. Their Sport 2, which I have, and mine has many, many thousands of rounds on it, has still never had a malfunction. They're used often as training rifles at various different training facilities that are loaner rifles, rather, at various different training facilities. And reports of very high round count, reliable Smith & Wesson AR-15s are everywhere. So that's exactly what I would expect from Smith & Wesson. Price point on these right now, looking around the internet, kind of hard to find, but again, 2021. It is what it is. But looking around, I saw them around the $1,300 to $1,500 price point. So it is in that sort of, I guess you'd call it mid-tier price point. You know, so it's not going to be as expensive as like your Daniel Defenses or your LWRCIs and stuff like that, but it's not as cheap as your Palmettos, etc. Smith & Wesson, of course, has a lifetime warranty. They ain't going anywhere. They'll be around for as long as you're alive, if not longer. So I think price point is fair for what you get. It's a very high quality rifle. Like I said, there's a couple things that I personally would change, but that's just me and my preferences. Again, it's worked fine, which is really what you're asking for. So I think with that, that's pretty much it. If you guys have any questions that we didn't answer in the review, you can always post those down below in the comments section. However, the best place to get your comments answered is at my various social media pages that you see down here on the screen. These days, Telegram's been the best to actually see what I'm posting, but for questions and things like that, Facebook is still the best. Instagram's okay, not the best. But there is that. And then we also have email list that goes out once or twice a month at most. So if you're not subscribed and you like this type of video, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, because this is kind of our bread and butter type of a review. But if you are subscribed and you're not seeing 2 to 4 videos a week, the reason is because of the algorithm is censoring what you see. So with that email, I send out all of the videos that have gone out since the prior email, so that way you guys don't have a big tech social media giant censoring your eyes from my content. And then we have another email, which is just the daily deals email, and you can sign up at the link, or rather the website here on your screen. And basically, if this rifle goes on sale, it's posted up somewhere for like $1,100, $1,200, whatever the case may be, I'll blast it out along with several other deals that I find along the way on that particular day. And that way you guys can save some money on some good stuff that I find and save you guys some time as well. So that is it. I think that's it. I think that's the end of my speech. Thanks for watching, guys. I truly appreciate it. Look forward to seeing everybody in the next video.